So today we're going to show you how we build the beds that we're using in our raised garden bed area down the back here. Our plan is to have 16 of these, generally 3 metres by 1.5 metres garden beds, which we've filled with rotted wood and wood chip and manure, and then had a layer of about 20 centimetres worth of good quality compost put on top, and that's how we make this bed. So what we're going to do in this video is to show you exactly how we do it, and as you can see over here we have 2 areas that this is the last 2 spots for these raised garden beds, and we've been slowly trying to kill off the grass, and because we have filled this whole area with wood chips, we've put the wood chip around it so we have a general idea of the space that we're going to be building these beds in. We do have a rather dramatic slope, and Dean takes that into account as he builds them. As you look at that, it ends up being level. So with these last 2 raised garden beds, we've managed to source some wood from a local recycled timber place. What sort of wood's this, Dean?
Well, it's decking timber. I'm assuming it's merbau, which we've used merbau on most of it. We started off with Douglas fir, which was a lot wider, which meant a lot less cutting, which was good. But it seems to be a softer wood. And so, what have we know? We've noticed that it's bending a little bit.
Yeah, coming apart at the...
Well, kind of the timber's bending itself, and so pulling the screws out. So I'm having to go back and screw, put some thicker screws in and re-screw it all. Whereas we picked up some decking timber, which is what this is, some merbau second hand with the stuff down the bottom. And it's a lot more cutting, a lot more screwing, but it seems to be a lot stronger. And this is a hardwood, whereas I think the Douglas fir is more of a soft. Well, it's a hardwood, I think, but it's not as it doesn't seem as sturdy as this.
Right. Okay, so you're measuring off. This is obviously for the sides. What measurement are you going with for these ones?
We're doing them 3 metres by 1.5 metres, so 3 metres long, 1.5 metres wide, and we're doing 450 mil high from the ground. But because the ground is sloped. Most of the ground here is sloped. Because it's sloped, we're 450 at the low end, and then it ends up being, 450 the high end ends up being lower or higher at the other end, depending on the way we set it up.
Yeah, so you're just taking a piece of wood down and a level, and seeing how much. It doesn't have to be exact, so it's just to give me a bit of a rough idea as to what the what the slope is. And so when I measured it earlier, it's probably about 120 mil, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. These are 90 mil, so you can do 1 or 2. So I'm working on 2. So it'll be 450. Let me get it right this time. It'll be 450 at the low end. Yep. And then with the slope, there'll be 2 extra lengths, so it'll be 450 plus another 180 at the high end. So if you put it flat, it'll look like it's sloping down. But obviously when you put it on the sloped ground, it'll level it out. Right. So it'll be 5 pieces down one end, and then 7 pieces at the other end. So that'll be the idea. And when I cut it, I'll show you what I mean. It'll make sense as we show you what's going on. Okay, so you've cut enough side length pieces for 2 raised garden beds and enough end pieces for 2 raised garden beds. You're also got your bracing pieces. So what are we doing here?
So this will be the end. This will be one of the ends. So
yep.
That'll be the length.
So you've pre-drilled already with...
Yeah, and using this burring tool my dad says I should use. I would never use these, but it would split the wood. So he's told me to use this, and it's much better. It doesn't split the wood, so it does the job exactly what we needed to do.
Right, so on a length this long, 3 metres, would you just have the end support piece?
I'll put an end here and screw it in, and end up there and screw it in, and I'll put a bracing piece in the middle.
Okay.
Just to hold it together, save it from splitting apart. I don't think you don't need it in terms of like they'll bow out a bit, but in terms of kind of going that way, it's not too much of a drama.
Right.
You're just kind of trying to keep the pieces together.
And you were using screws here.
So these are, hang on here. They're decking screws. Those screws for decking. They have this handy square head, which I'm finding very useful instead of the normal Phillips head. So these, and they come with a bit, so that's quite helpful. Yeah, so once you're pre-drilled, just, give it a bit of a burr, and then you just screw them in, which is fairly straightforward.
So what are we doing now? To the other end?
So the lengths are, so this is a 450 piece. It's a bit, it's a touch short, but it'll be alright. And then up there was a 540 piece, which is, so that's 6 lengths. This is 5 lengths, or just slightly over 5 lengths.
And we can see the length along of here that is just a partially cut piece to make it level in the end.
The first few I worried about it, but with these last ones, once we fill it with dirt and all the other stuff, it really doesn't matter too much. So I'll screw them to get down, and then this one here, which is the kind of the angled piece, I'll put a screw in the top just to hold it in position.
So you've got this together, all the bracing pieces, you're just screwing the last screws, and then we'll carry it down to put it in place.
Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can see there's corner pieces. So we showed you we were doing one side. So the 2 sides are identical. Then we did the 2 lengths are identical. Then we did the 2 sides with a bracing piece in the middle. So your corner pieces are holding it together. Then your bracing pieces are really just holding these 5 at this end, 6 at that end, kind of tight like that. And so that'll essentially just sit on the ground like that. It's made out of hardwood, so it's really quite sturdy. And we'll fill it. We'll show you what we fill it with. The customer will show you what we fill it with, and then we'll go from there.
So we finally have some sunny weather at the moment. We had the wood chip delivered yesterday, but it's been raining and drizzling on and off for yesterday afternoon and this morning. We're now going to fill these beds, these last 2 beds, with the wood chip. At the moment, what we have in there, as you can see, is old stumps, rotting tree stumps, rotting branches, leaves, some old grass that is sort of on the dying side of things, and manure. So what we're now going to do is start filling it with barrow loads of our wood chip. One of the joys of having a large family is that everyone chips in and helps on these big types of jobs. It's probably more a joy for us as parents, not so much for the kids, but we are very thankful that they take part, get in and do the work, and help us out with things like this. So we've filled up these 2 garden beds with the wood chip. It has probably between 30 and 40 centimetres of wood chip in there. You might think that that's an awful lot of wood chip, but it's a lot less expensive than filling the whole garden bed with compost or with soil that you might get brought in on a truck. So we filled up both of the beds now. That means that all 16 beds are now filled, and we've also finished by putting in the watering system. Now, what have we used, Dane? What diameter pipe?
It's 13 mil. I think it's Pope is the brand. It's just a little poly irrigation pipe. So it's just 13 mil, which is 1/2 inch. And so you can see we've just run it. So they're the ends there. So we've just kind of run from down here. So each line has a tap, come into a T, then just go around to the ends, and then the risers. We've got half circle risers in the middle, and then quarter circle risers at the corners. So if you have a look around these ones here, you can see the quarter circle ones on the corners and then the half circle ones in the middle.
Okay, so that's our garden beds finished. I will leave these two garden beds a couple of weeks before we actually plant anything in them, but we're super excited that these garden beds are finally finished. All 16 of them. Thanks for joining us on Life Less Ordinary.